Sarah Martinez had always been different from other girls in her small Texas town. While her classmates spent weekends at the mall, she was out in the desert with her grandfather, learning to shoot tin cans off fence posts. Her grandfather, a Vietnam veteran, saw something special in the way she handled a rifle. Her hands never shook. Her breathing remained steady, and most importantly, she never missed. The day Sarah turned 18, she walked into the Navy recruitment office with a determined look that made the recruiter sit up straight. She had spent months preparing physically, running 15 miles every morning before school and doing countless push-ups and pull-ups. Her grades were perfect, her physical fitness scores were off the charts, and she had one goal that seemed impossible to everyone except her. She wanted to become a Navy SEAL. The recruiter, a gruff man named Sergeant Collins, almost laughed when this 5'6" girl with ponytails told him her plan. Female SEALs were practically unheard of. The program had only recently opened to women, and the failure rate was astronomical even for the strongest men. He explained the brutal training, the mental torture, the physical demands that broke grown men into pieces. Sarah listened politely, then asked where to sign. Boot camp was her first real test. The drill instructors tried everything to break her spirit. They made her carry heavier packs, do extra exercises, and endure verbal abuse designed to make her quit. Her fellow recruits watched with a mixture of admiration and disbelief as she never complained, never cried, and never gave up. She helped struggling teammates, shared her rations, and somehow managed to keep everyone's morale up even during the darkest moments. During marksmanship training, something magical happened. Sarah picked up the standard-issue rifle and hit targets that seasoned instructors struggled with. At 300 yards, she hit perfect center shots. At 500 yards, she grouped her shots so tightly they looked like one bullet hole. At 800 yards, in windy conditions that made other shooters curse, she continued hitting targets with mechanical precision. Word spread quickly through the base. Officers who had never heard of Sarah Martinez suddenly knew her name. The shooting instructors requested her for demonstrations. Even the hardest drill sergeants began to show grudging respect for the quiet girl from Texas who could outshoot anyone on the base. But boot camp was just the beginning. Sarah knew that basic underwater demolition SEAL training would be a completely different animal. Buddhist was where dreams went to die. It was where the strongest, toughest, most determined people discovered their limits and usually quit. The statistics were terrifying. Over 80% of candidates never made it through. As Sarah prepared to ship out to Coronado, California for Bud S training, she carried with her grandfather's words, "Shooting isn't about the gun, little warrior. It's about the mind behind it. Keep your mind strong and your hands will never fail you." She had no idea that those words would soon save not just her life, but the lives of an entire team in a mission that would make military history. The quiet girl from Texas was about to become something the world had never seen before, a female SEAL sniper whose legend would be whispered in military circles for decades to come. The plane lifted off toward California, carrying Sarah toward a destiny that would test every fiber of her being and ultimately prove that underestimating someone based on their appearance could be the deadliest mistake an enemy could make. The first day at Bud S started at 4 a.m. with an ice-cold ocean swim that made Sarah's entire body scream in protest. The Pacific waters off Coronado Beach were merciless, and the instructors seemed to take special pleasure in making the training even more brutal for the handful of female candidates. Sarah's teeth chattered uncontrollably as she treaded water for what felt like hours, but she refused to ring the bell that would end her SEAL dreams forever. Instructor Chief Petty Officer Rodriguez had broken more candidates than anyone else at Bud S. He was a legend himself, a former SEAL with 3 combat deployments who could spot weakness from a mile away. When he first saw Sarah Martinez in his class, he made a mental note to keep extra attention on her. Not because he doubted her abilities, but because he recognized something dangerous in her eyes, the same look he had seen in the mirror 20 years ago. The infamous Hell Week arrived like a nightmare made real. 5.5 days of continuous training with no more than 4 hours of sleep total. Candidates carried heavy boats over their heads for miles, crawled through freezing mud under barbed wire, and endured psychological warfare designed to break their minds. One by one, Sarah watched her classmates ring the bell and quit. Strong men who had seemed invincible crumbled under the pressure. But Sarah had a secret weapon her instructors didn't know about. Every time the pain became unbearable, every time her body screamed for relief, she thought about her grandfather's old rifle range. She remembered the feeling of perfect stillness, that moment between breaths when everything became crystal clear. She used those memories to find calm in the chaos, to discover strength when her muscles had nothing left to give. During one particularly brutal exercise, Sarah's boat crew was struggling to carry their inflatable boat over sand dunes in the scorching sun. Her teammates were big men, football players, and wrestlers, but they were starting to falter. Sarah, the smallest member of the team, suddenly took charge. She reorganized their grip, changed their pace, and somehow got them moving efficiently again. Chief Rodriguez watched from a distance, making notes in his evaluation book. The shooting portions of training revealed why Sarah was truly special. While other candidates struggled with advanced marksmanship, Sarah made shots that left instructors speechless. She could hit moving targets at extreme distances, calculate wind speed and bullet drop in her head, and maintain accuracy even after hours of exhausting physical training. Her rifle became an extension of her body, responding to her will with deadly precision. What impressed the instructors most wasn't just her shooting ability, but her tactical mind. Sarah understood angles, positioning, and timing in ways that usually took years to develop. She could read terrain like a map, identify the perfect sniper positions, and plan escape routes that other candidates never even considered. During wargame exercises, enemy teams learned to fear the areas where Sarah was positioned. Chief Rodriguez pulled Sarah aside after a particularly impressive training exercise. She had successfully eliminated 12 instructors playing enemy forces during a mock mission, using stealth and precision shooting that left everyone amazed. He looked at her with new respect and said something that would change her life. "Martinez, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've seen tough people, smart people, and deadly people. You're the first person I've met who's all three." As Bud's training neared its end, Sarah had not only survived but excelled. She graduated in the top 5% of her class, earning the respect of instructors who had initially doubted whether any woman could make it through the program. But graduation was just the beginning. Now came advanced training, specialized schools, and eventually real missions where the bullets would be actual and the stakes would be life and death. Sarah knew she was ready. She had proven herself against every challenge the Navy could throw at her. What she didn't know was that her first real mission would come sooner than expected, and it would test everything she had learned in ways that no training could fully prepare her for. The quiet girl from Texas was about to become a weapon that enemies would never see coming. 2 years after graduating from Bud's, Petty Officer First Class Sarah Martinez had earned a reputation that preceded her wherever she went. Her fellow SEALs called her Ghost because enemies never saw her coming and rarely lived to tell about it. She had completed 6 successful missions across 3 different countries, each one adding to her legend within the Special Operations community. The call came on a rainy Tuesday morning at Naval Amphibious Base Coronado. Sarah was cleaning her rifle when Lieutenant Commander Jackson approached with a folder marked "Classified." His expression was grimmer than usual, which meant this mission was going to be different from anything she had done before. The briefing room was filled with tension as Jackson laid out the situation. A terrorist cell had taken control of a remote compound in the mountains of Afghanistan. Intelligence indicated they were holding 3 American aid workers hostage and planning to execute them within 48 hours. The compound was heavily fortified, surrounded by steep cliffs and defended by an estimated 15 to 20 well-armed fighters. What made this mission particularly challenging was the terrain. The compound sat on a plateau accessible only by a narrow mountain path that was constantly guarded. Any conventional assault would be suicide. The hostages were being held in a building at the center of the compound, making a direct rescue almost impossible without significant casualties. Sarah studied the satellite images with the intensity of a chess master planning her next move. She traced possible approach routes with her finger, calculated sight lines and distances, and identified potential sniper positions on the surrounding ridges. While other team members discussed assault tactics and extraction plans, Sarah was already visualizing something entirely different. Team leader Master Chief Petty Officer Williams laid out the official plan. They would insert via helicopter at night, approach the compound on foot, and attempt a coordinated assault at dawn. It was a solid plan, but everyone in the room knew it was also extremely risky. The narrow approach meant they could easily be trapped, and the superior numbers of defenders gave the terrorists a significant advantage. Sarah raised her hand quietly. "Chief, I have an alternative suggestion." The room fell silent. Sarah had never questioned a mission plan before, but her tone carried a confidence that made everyone listen. She stood up and walked to the topographical map spread across the wall. "What if we don't assault the compound at all?" she asked, pointing to a ridgeline approximately 200 yards from the target building. "What if instead we create a diversion that draws most of the defenders away from the hostages, while I provide precision fire support from this position?" Williams studied the map with interest. The ridge Sarah had identified was nearly invisible from the compound, protected by natural rock formations, and offered a clear line of sight to multiple areas of the target zone. But the distance was extreme even for an expert marksman. "Martinez, that's over 3/4 of a mile, in mountain conditions with unpredictable wind patterns, and you'd be shooting downhill, which changes your bullet trajectory significantly." Sarah nodded calmly. "I've been practicing shots at that distance for months, Chief. I can make them consistently. More importantly, from that position I can control the entire battlefield. I can eliminate sentries silently, take out defenders as they respond to our diversion, and clear a path for the rescue team to reach the hostages safely." The plan that emerged was both simple and audacious. The main team would create a diversion on the far side of the compound, drawing attention and defenders away from the central building. Meanwhile, Sarah would position herself on the distant ridge and systematically eliminate key targets, creating chaos and confusion among the remaining defenders. Once she had reduced their numbers significantly, the rescue team would move in to extract the hostages. What nobody in that briefing room fully understood was that they were about to witness something unprecedented in modern military history. They were planning a mission that would showcase not just individual skill, but the perfect fusion of patience, precision, and tactical genius that defined the very best snipers in the world. As the team prepared for insertion, Sarah made final adjustments to her rifle scope and reviewed her mental calculations one more time. She thought about her grandfather's words about keeping her mind strong, and she felt that familiar calm settling over her like a comfortable blanket. In 18 hours, she would prove that the greatest weapon on any battlefield wasn't necessarily the biggest or loudest one. Sometimes it was the one nobody saw coming. The helicopter insertion happened at 200 hours under a moonless sky that provided perfect cover for their approach. Sarah felt the familiar rush of adrenaline mixed with an almost supernatural calm as the aircraft skimmed low over the jagged mountain peaks. She had spent the flight reviewing wind patterns, calculating bullet trajectories, and visualizing every shot she might need to make. The team split up exactly as planned once they reached the insertion point. Master Chief Williams led the main assault team toward their diversion position on the eastern side of the compound, while Sarah began her solo climb to the sniper position on the western ridge. The terrain was treacherous in the darkness, with loose rocks and steep grades that could send an unwary climber tumbling hundreds of feet to their death. Sarah moved like a ghost through the darkness, using techniques learned from months of advanced mountain warfare training. Every step was calculated, every movement silent. She carried her specialized rifle system, a .338 Lapua Magnum, with custom modifications that she had personally tested at extreme distances. The weapon was heavy, but it had become so familiar to her that it felt like a natural extension of her body. Reaching her position took 3 grueling hours of climbing, but Sarah arrived exactly on schedule. The ridge provided an almost perfect natural hide, with rock formations that concealed her position, while offering multiple shooting lanes toward the compound below. She began setting up her equipment with the methodical precision of a master craftsman, preparing for the most important work of her career. Through her high-powered scope, Sarah could see the compound clearly despite the distance. She counted 14 visible guards, noted their patrol patterns, and identified the building where intelligence indicated the hostages were being held. 2 guards stood at the entrance to that building, while others patrolled the perimeter or manned defensive positions. Sarah used the remaining hours before dawn to study every detail of the target area. She noted how the guards moved, where they took breaks, which positions offered them cover, and most importantly, the precise angles and distances for every shot she might need to make. Her mind became a tactical computer, calculating windage, elevation, and timing for scenarios that might unfold once the mission began. At 0600 hours, Her radio crackled with Master Chief Williams's voice. "Ghost, this is actual. We're in position and ready to begin diversion. What's your status?" Sarah's voice was completely steady despite the enormity of what was about to happen. "Actual, this is Ghost. I have eyes on 14 tangos and clear shots to multiple targets. Ready to engage on your signal." "Copy that, Ghost. Initiating diversion in 60 seconds. Once we begin, you are cleared to engage targets of opportunity. Keep our boys safe down there." Sarah adjusted her breathing and settled into the perfect shooting position she had practiced thousands of times. Through her scope, she watched the guards continuing their normal routines. Completely unaware that their lives were being measured in minutes or even seconds, she felt no emotion about what was about to happen. Only the crystal-clear focus that had made her the deadliest sniper in the Navy SEALs. The diversion began with explosions on the far side of the compound as Williams' team detonated charges they had placed near the main vehicle depot. Immediately, Sarah watched through her scope as chaos erupted below. Guards ran toward the explosions, shouting orders and grabbing weapons. This was exactly what they had planned for. Sarah's first shot came as a guard near the hostage building turned to run toward the diversion. The bullet traveled 1,247 yards in just over 2 seconds and struck the target center mass. The guard dropped instantly without making a sound. The other guards were too focused on the explosions to notice that one of their comrades had simply vanished. Her second shot eliminated a sniper who was climbing to a rooftop position where he could threaten the rescue team. Sarah had identified this threat during her surveillance and was ready for it. The terrorist never reached his position. As more guards poured out of buildings toward the diversion, Sarah began working with mechanical precision. Each shot was calculated, deliberate, and lethal. She targeted the most dangerous defenders first, those with heavy weapons, those in positions that could threaten her teammates, and those who showed signs of tactical training. What happened next would become the stuff of military legend. In exactly 5 minutes and 12 seconds, Sarah eliminated 12 enemy fighters with 12 shots, each one at extreme distance under combat conditions. She controlled the entire battlefield from her invisible position, turning what should have been a desperate firefight into a carefully orchestrated rescue operation. The compound that had been heavily defended suddenly became a killing field, where the defenders couldn't understand where death was coming from. The remaining terrorists, reduced to just 2 or 3 confused and terrified men, were easily overwhelmed when the rescue team finally moved in to extract the hostages. As Sarah watched the rescue team successfully reaching the hostages, she felt a quiet satisfaction that had nothing to do with glory or recognition. She had used her skills to save innocent lives and protect her teammates. Her grandfather would have been proud of the warrior she had become. The aftermath of the mission unfolded like a perfectly choreographed dance. Sarah maintained her overwatch position as the rescue team moved swiftly through the compound, securing the 3 American aid workers who had been held captive for 6 weeks. Through her scope, she watched her teammates carefully checking each building and ensuring no threats remained. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, the lead aid worker, was barely conscious when the rescue team reached her. She had been beaten and starved, but she was alive. The 2 male aid workers, engineers who had been building water treatment facilities in nearby villages, were in better condition, but clearly traumatized by their ordeal. All 3 would need immediate medical attention, but they would survive thanks to the precision and speed of the rescue operation. Master Chief Williams's voice came through Sarah's radio with barely contained excitement. "Ghost, this is actual. Package is secure. All 3 packages are alive and mobile. Your shooting was absolutely incredible. I've never seen anything like it." Sarah remained focused on her job, continuing to scan for any remaining threats while the extraction proceeded. "Actual, this is Ghost. Glad to hear the packages are secure. I'm maintaining overwatch until you're clear of the compound." What Sarah didn't know was that military intelligence officers were already reviewing drone footage of the entire operation. The video showed something that military historians would later describe as one of the most remarkable displays of precision shooting in combat history. 12 shots, 12 kills, all at extreme distance, all while friendly forces were operating in close proximity to the targets. The extraction went smoothly, with the team and rescued hostages moving to the predetermined pickup zone where helicopters waited to take them to safety. Sarah was the last to leave her position, carefully packing her equipment and ensuring she left no trace of her presence on the ridge. As she made her way down the treacherous mountain path in daylight, She could see the compound below still smoldering from the diversionary explosions. Back at base, the debriefing revealed the full scope of what Sarah had accomplished. Intelligence analysis showed that she had eliminated not just 12 enemy fighters, but specifically the 12 most dangerous defenders in the compound. Her target selection had been flawless. She had taken out the machine gunner who could have pinned down the rescue team, the sniper who was moving to an overwatch position, and the apparent leader who was trying to organize a coherent defense. Colonel Harrison, the base commander, reviewed the mission footage with a mixture of amazement and professional pride. He had seen many remarkable operations during his 25-year career, but nothing quite like this. A single sniper had essentially neutralized an entire terrorist cell while protecting both hostages and friendly forces from a position over 3/4 of a mile away. The story of the mission began spreading through military channels almost immediately. Special operations forces around the world heard about the female SEAL sniper, who had achieved something unprecedented. Training instructors began using the mission as a case study in precision shooting and tactical patience. Other snipers studied the video footage, trying to understand how Sarah had maintained such accuracy under combat stress. What made Sarah's accomplishment even more remarkable was the speed with which she had worked. Most precision shooters need several minutes between shots to recalculate and readjust for changing conditions. Sarah had maintained a rate of fire that seemed impossible at such extreme distances, moving from target to target with mechanical precision while accounting for wind changes, target movement, and the chaos of the battlefield below. Dr. Walsh, recovering in a military hospital, asked to speak with the sniper who had saved her life. When she learned that her rescuer was a young woman from Texas, she began crying tears of gratitude and amazement. She had heard the gunshots during the rescue but had no idea they were coming from someone so far away, or that each shot was saving her life and the lives of her colleagues. Sarah herself remained characteristically modest about the mission. When asked by her teammates how she had managed such incredible shooting, she simply said that her grandfather had taught her to keep her mind calm and trust her training. She deflected praise and focused instead on the successful rescue of the hostages, which she considered the only measure that really mattered. But military leadership knew they had witnessed something special. Reports were already being written that would eventually reach the highest levels of the Pentagon. Sarah Martinez had not only proven that women could serve effectively in the most elite special operations units, but she had set a new standard for what was possible in precision shooting and tactical excellence. The quiet girl from Texas had become a legend, though she didn't know it yet. What she did know was that she had found her calling, and she was ready for whatever mission came next. 6 months after the hostage rescue mission, Sarah Martinez found herself standing in the Pentagon, wearing her dress uniform and feeling slightly uncomfortable with all the attention. The building was filled with the most senior military leaders in the country, including generals and admirals who had heard about her incredible feat and wanted to meet the sniper, who had redefined what was possible in special operations. The ceremony was unlike anything Sarah had ever experienced. Secretary of Defense Patricia Mills presented her with the Navy Cross, the second highest decoration for valor that the Navy could bestow. As the medal was pinned to her uniform, Sarah thought about her grandfather and wished he could have been there to see how far his lessons about patience and precision had taken her. General Robert Chen, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, spoke to the assembled crowd about how Sarah's mission represented a new era in special operations. He described her shooting as a master class in precision, patience, and tactical excellence that will be studied by military professionals for decades to come. The general noted that Sarah had not only saved 3 innocent lives but had proven that the integration of women into special operations forces was not just possible, but could produce extraordinary results. Dr. Jennifer Walsh attended the ceremony, having recovered fully from her ordeal. She spoke about the moment when she realized she was being rescued and how grateful she was to learn that her savior was a young woman who had risked everything to bring her home safely. Dr. Walsh had since returned to her humanitarian work, but she carried with her a deep appreciation for the sacrifice and skill of the people who protected others in the most dangerous places in the world. The mission footage had become legendary within military circles. Training instructors at sniper schools around the world used Sarah's shooting as an example of perfect technique under pressure. The 5-minute engagement was broken down second by second, analyzed for lessons about target prioritization, environmental factors, and maintaining accuracy under stress. Military academies included the mission in their curriculum as an example of how individual excellence could change the outcome of an entire operation. Sarah's teammates from the mission had all received commendations for their roles in the successful rescue. Master Chief Williams was promoted and given command of his own special operations unit. He often spoke about the mission, always emphasizing how Sarah's overwatch had made the dangerous rescue possible. The bond forged between the team members during that operation remained strong, built on mutual respect and the shared experience of executing a perfect mission under impossible conditions. The story began reaching civilian audiences through carefully controlled media reports that protected operational security while celebrating Sarah's achievement. Young women around the country read about the Texas girl who had become one of the most effective warriors in the world's most elite military units. Recruitment offices reported increased interest from female candidates wanting to follow in Sarah's footsteps. Sarah herself struggled with the attention and recognition. She had never sought fame or glory. She simply wanted to serve her country and use her skills to protect innocent people. The medals and ceremonies felt strange to someone who had always preferred the quiet satisfaction of a job well done. But she understood that her story had become bigger than just her personal achievement. She had become a symbol of what was possible when talent, determination, and opportunity came together. 3 years later, Sarah received an offer that would change her life again. The military wanted her to help establish a new advanced sniper training program that would teach the techniques and tactics she had developed. The program would train the next generation of precision shooters, sharing the lessons learned from her unprecedented mission and her years of experience in special operations. Sarah accepted the assignment with the same quiet determination that had carried her through BUDS training and into the mountains of Afghanistan. She knew that her greatest contribution might not be the missions she completed, but the knowledge she could pass on to others who would carry on the tradition of excellence in special operations. The girl from Texas who had once shot tin cans with her grandfather had become Master Chief Petty Officer Sarah Martinez, one of the most respected instructors in the special operations community. Her legacy was not just the 12 precise shots that had saved 3 lives, but the hundreds of students she would train who would carry her lessons into future missions around the world. Sometimes, late at night on the training ranges, Sarah would think about that ridge in Afghanistan and the 5 minutes that had defined her career. She had proven that excellence knew no gender, that skill and courage could overcome any obstacle, and that sometimes the most powerful weapon on the battlefield was not the one that made the most noise, but the one guided by the steadiest hand and the calmest mind. The quiet girl who had never missed a target had become exactly what her grandfather always knew she could be, a warrior whose legend would inspire others long after her own battles were finished.